Hi and welcome to Lines on Design. I am so excited today to be with my friend Dave Miller, and we have grabbed Anita to come with us. It's great to see you too.
Thank you.
This is, look at how excited he is.
I know.
We wanted to talk about Dave and we felt like he couldn't do it on his own, so we had to bring in help. You've been with him for how long?
9 years.
Have you really?
Yes.
And I'll tell you, it's really interesting when I talk to people who have worked for other people, because you kind of get the down and dirty. And she basically said that she can go to you at any time for anything. And I think it's important. We were just talking about marketing with a group of people. And I think it's interesting. I like to patronize businesses where I feel like everyone is kind of part of the hierarchy and part of the process.
Right.
And you said that hands down, it really is.
Yeah, yeah.
How did you get into this?
Basically, just I had to do something outside of college. I didn't
Yeah.
enjoy college, so had to figure something out. I figured everybody's gonna need air conditioning.
Well, and let me ask you this. It's summertime right now. Is summertime an especially stressful time for you guys?
Yes, it's, pretty much 60% of our sales happen in the summer versus the rest of the year. So
Has this been a particularly tough one? Because I know the weather's been pretty hideous.
every summer's got its own, special tricks it wants to throw at us.
Well, one of the reasons we thought on Lines on Design this would be a really fun thing is what sets you all apart? I mean, what really does set you apart? And you said a lot of it is the people that you have, the technicians and also your support team. What does Anita do that you think really is special as far as service and something that your customers could take home?
Sure. Adds that level of friendliness and compassion, I would imagine, that you really need when people call. They're upset. They have problems. They're uncomfortable. They know they either have people in the house that really can't be uncomfortable, whether it be infants or elderly, or even just a wife that has to have a kid.
It's 78 here. Yeah.
So, being able to pass that genuine feeling of compassion on to the customer is key. We care.
So how does that work? What do you recommend? You and I, actually, Anita and I had a little pre-talk about this, so we know exactly what it is. What do you like people to do when they have a problem? Call in first.
Sure.
And what, Anita? Take it from there.
Well, after you call in,
Okay.
then if you get used to talking to us,
Yes.
then you're going to know prior to calling us, which will help you out as well of what to check.
Okay, so what does that mean? So I'm calling and I'm saying, okay, I had it set at 74, it's 77 in here. I have all my grandkids coming. What in the world do I need to do? Is that what you mean?
Exactly, absolutely. And say that scenario, like you call me, and the first thing I'm going to say to you, it's 74, and you've got set at 74, it's 77 in there. It's 3 degrees off. The humidity is really high outside.
Okay.
The temperature is really high. I'm going to look at your equipment while I'm talking to you. Unless you're a new customer, I'm going to kind of see if your equipment's older, that maybe it's doing the best that it can do.
Okay.
And then I'm going to walk you through a few things, like I told you, checking the breaker.
Yeah, give me an
an
example.
Okay.
Check the breaker. What does that mean?
You go to your breaker box.
Okay. Look, he's like, oh, stop.
Yeah.
He's like, ugh.
Yeah.
No, because this is exactly what you get
No, you're right.
spared from, right?
Yes,
You're right.
yes. Yeah, you go to your breaker box and you
Okay.
check to make sure that none of your breakers are tripped.
Why would that be tripped?
Well, lots of different things. I mean, when there's storms come through here, you know what I mean? And
Okay,
we
so-
have power surges.
Okay, so
a lot
this
of times.
past week, past 2 weeks, we've had major storms.
Oh, yeah.
So that means you've actually probably gotten more calls than,
Yeah, and like I said, I had 3 this past week. I had 3 people that have called me and said, Nita, my unit's running, but I
Okay.
don't have any cold air. So I'll tell them, first thing, I don't care if it's still running or whatever. I'm going to tell you, go to your breaker box, find the breaker for that, and I'm going to shut it off and shut it back on.
okay.
Okay, and I found this out from my own.
Okay.
Okay, that when it reset, it came back up. It reset and it was on running, but I wasn't getting any cold air. but I don't know if there's a glitch or something that can happen. But sometimes they don't come back on full power or something. But I flipped that breaker and flipped it back on. Mine come back up and running. So I'm telling people now, check it out.
And what makes sense to me is here it is crazy busy. Okay, you've got people who really do have emergencies.
Exactly.
And rather than have your guys come out, I mean, just listening to this really seriously, practically, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It would have been a service call, one of your guys who could be doing something important, and really if I had, and which I would never have thought of, to go ahead, I wouldn't have.
Right.
To flip that breaker switch.
Right.
So there automatically we've saved time, energy, and dollars for
Absolutely.
you guys to get to people that you really need.
I mean,
Exactly.
it's not super common that it's the breaker and as easy as the breaker, but even if it's, couple times per service calls,
Right.
It's hard for us to go out there and charge somebody to flip a breaker back. I mean, we'll check other things since we're there,
Okay.
Right.
but it's just like, most importantly, when it's this hot out, our resources are tapped as far as men and how late they work.
Exactly.
So being able to put a call off that might not be a call is huge.
Well, the other thing for me is just knowing that we've had all of these storms,
Right.
especially this summer's been crazy. I just would never have thought about it. It makes so much sense to me.
Right.
One of the other things we talked about during the break that I'm curious about is I felt like, and I don't know the word, I felt like my system was frozen, if you would.
Right.
It sort of wasn't doing much of anything.
Sure.
And so what's the deal with?
Unfortunately, a frozen system is a side effect to probably 80% of the things that could break on your air conditioner. So you could have several things break, but the side effect is usually the same. Something's going to freeze up. If you have a fan motor go bad, it's going to freeze up. Low on refrigerant, it's going to freeze up. Things like that. So if it is frozen up and you know it's frozen up, then the best thing to do, we tell everybody, is shut the cooling portion off and leave the fan in the on position so that it starts de-icing that
Is
ice.
that a service call, or is that something I call and
If it's frozen up, there's a reason we got to be out there
Yeah,
and figure out
absolutely.
why.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes it's as simple as a really, really dirty filter. So if your system's frozen up
Imagine
and
that.
you go change your filter because now this is reminding you that maybe you haven't changed it in a while, and you pull it out and it looks like a piece of cardboard, then there's a very good chance that your filter caused the system to ice up. Pull the filter out, leave the fan on the on position, and turn the air conditioning off for an hour or
Let it
so.
fall.
I like that this has turned into a Q&A for me to ask all my questions.
Yeah.
I mean, who knew?
Right.
The other thing I have a question for you then, since I have you captive, is my husband yells at me all the time because at night I get hot, I want it cold. So it'll go from like 75 and then I'll turn it down to like 68.
Sure.
And he's like, ugh.
That's freezing.
Right, he goes,
Yes,
it only
it is.
it only goes 1 degree at a time.
Right.
Right.
Because I keep thinking if it's 75 and I go to 68, it'll be cool in 5 minutes.
Right.
Not so
No.
much.
No, everybody has the impression that
Right?
that the lower you lower it, that air conditioner is going to say, "Oh, well, I must have to try harder."
Exactly.
When realistically,
It doesn't know that?
an air conditioner, for the most part, they're on or off. Now, nowadays, you have higher efficiency and smarter thermostats and stuff.
embarrassing. Uh-huh.
But for the most part, whether you go 1 degree or 5 degrees, it's usually going to try just as hard to get there. So.
Oh, well, who knew?
Yeah.
I mean, so really when I do that, he just said it puts a strain on the...
I don't ever recommend setting anything below 70 degrees,
No.
but that's cold.
You can cause it to freeze up. Yeah.
Look at, yeah. Are you kidding? Over 50-year-old woman, I wanted it like 40. Do you recommend, can you program new systems now to be like at 74 in the afternoon or in the morning and then gradually, you really can?
You can, they have smart thermostats now that you can have on your phone, the apps where you can just dial in, you can set programs for when you wake up, when you go to work, things of that nature. It does save some energy if you have the air conditioning set back a couple degrees while you're not home. But that's for people that have like an actual, nice regiment that's the same every day. For somebody that leaves and is going to come back in a couple hours, I don't recommend changing it for the couple hours. You're just going to be uncomfortable when you get back home.
Is there a question that people call or ask both of you that is so common that you don't even, that I wouldn't know or I wouldn't think of? What is the most common thing that you hear?
Oh, man.
Everything.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
What about water in my,
Your drain pan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the drain pan.
Right.
I knew that, in that
pan that holds
yeah,
water.
Yeah, a thing that holds water. Is that a big deal? What does
Yeah.
that mean?
Well, normally it's your drain line's clogged.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
I like
And-
it. She's like
Yeah.
sweet and straight to the point.
Yeah. It could be even if, and a lot of people get confused about this too. It could be even if you've got a customer care or a maintenance agreement
Got it.
with somebody. That drain line still can clog up between the 6 months. It all depends on how hard that thing's had to work.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And how hot it is outside and how much water's flowed through it and everything like that. But generally they got a float switch, as I was telling you earlier, in the pan. And as soon as that drain pan fills up it hits that flow switch is going to shut that system down to keep the water from flowing and causing you a leak.
So safety first, it
Yeah.
really
Sure.
is. I know you're like, oh, I wish we could do something fun and dramatic, because we always have fun. We go outside and we talk
Right.
about solar panels, we talk about new things, it's great. But I have to tell you that I'm big on takeaways and things that people like myself or any of us can actually take home and use. And I think it's really been great to talk to you guys today.
Sure.
It really is, because I think there's some concrete things that we as good consumers
Right.
can really do.
Right.
Anita, thank you. Dave,
Not a
it's always a
treat.
treat to
Thank
see
you for
I
having me,
really
as
appreciate
always.
it. Stay with us. There's more to come on Lynes on Design.